The morning fog clung to the rooftops of Vancouver like a secret I wasn't allowed to know. For the first time in 7 years, I wasn't juggling endless client calls, missed birthdays, or emergency coding patches. I was simply present. My name is Celestine Vale, Systems Integrator, a fancy title that barely hinted at the years I'd spent holding core link solutions together while no one even knew my face. Today, I was supposed to be on a rare holiday, a brief pause from the chaos of deadlines and internal politics. I hadn't expected my phone to explode before I even sipped my first coffee. Hey everyone, before we dive in, hit subscribe and turn on notifications if you love stories where the underdog finally takes control. You don't want to miss this. The screen lit up with an all-caps text from Marcus Trent, the new CEO, a man whose idea of leadership was barking over Zoom calls and enforcing loyalty through fear. Celestine Vale, unauthorized leave during launch week. Report immediately. Consider this notice your termination. I laughed. Not bitterly, not nervously. Pure, sharp, liberating laughter. 7 years of being overlooked, underestimated, and undervalued had trained me to flinch at threats. This, however, felt like a key turning in a lock I didn't even know existed. Trouble? I turned to see him leaning casually against the balcony railing, a slight smirk tugging at the corners of his lips. Dark suit, faintly rumpled, eyes scanning me with measured curiosity. My heart didn't leap, it didn't falter, it settled. Marcus just fired me, I admitted, letting the words float between us. He raised a brow, then smiled faintly. Then perhaps it's the universe telling you the right people finally noticed. Hours earlier, a booking error had placed us both at the same rooftop restaurant overlooking the harbor. I'd thought I'd simply spend my last hours of freedom sipping tea and pretending the corporate world didn't exist. Instead, I was sharing a table with Renzo Marconi, a venture capitalist whose reputation in the tech world made even the boldest founders pause mid-sentence. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed again. Multiple texts from Marcus. Threats, legal jargon, accusations of abandoning responsibilities. Normally, my chest would tighten, my palms would sweat. Today, it felt like paper floating in the wind. I showed Renzo the messages. He didn't seem impressed. He seemed intrigued. "He thinks he controls you," he said softly. "Does he?" "No," I replied, letting the words settle between us. "Not anymore." Renzo's smile was subtle, but approving. Then the real game is just beginning. By evening, the fog had lifted, replaced with a sunset that lit the harbor in molten gold. My phone buzzed endlessly. Emails, calls, instant messages, all from the people who had relied on me for years without acknowledgement. The launch sequence Marcus had insisted proceed without me was already unraveling. Clients demanded explanations, team leads scrambled in confusion. I could hear the panic even without reading every message. Years of intuition, hundreds of small system adjustments, thousands of workflow optimizations. They weren't in any manual. No one could replicate them. A soft knock at my door interrupted the flood. I opened it to find Arya Chen, a consultant I trusted above all. 2 cups of steaming coffee in hand, her eyes scanning the stack of notifications glowing on my phone. "I thought you might need this. Everyone's talking about what happened. You've shaken the foundation, Celestine. Marcus has no idea what he's unleashed." I didn't respond immediately. I just held the cup, feeling the warmth seep into my palms. For years, I had been the invisible scaffolding, the quiet pulse of stability everyone relied on. Today, for the first time, the world saw the structure itself beginning to quake without me. "Do you want to step back in?" Arya asked softly. I shook my head. "I want to step forward, not back. Choose where I belong this time." By midnight, the chaos had escalated. Marcus sent messages claiming sabotage. Teams argued over failed protocols. Even the board had begun questioning his judgment. Renzo's presence lingered in my mind, a quiet, steady reminder that competence gets noticed, eventually, and that timing, when paired with skill, can shift power in a single heartbeat. The next morning, sunlight streamed through my window, but my peace remained unshaken. Marcus's office was already in turmoil. Emails flagged urgent, client calls mounting, operations spiraling. None of it mattered to me. I had already begun drafting proposals for a startup initiative Renzo had hinted at the night before, one where my expertise would be recognized, rewarded, and autonomous. A call came through from the board. Helena Voss, head of strategic operations, voice calm but tense. Celestine, we need immediate clarification on Corling's stability post-departure. Are you available for a discussion? I inhaled slowly. I was terminated without cause during approved leave, I said evenly. Silence followed, a heavy acknowledgement of the truth. Would you consider a temporary consultancy strictly for transition purposes? She asked carefully. I let the question hang in the air. I could almost hear Marcus's frantic cogs grinding in the background. I appreciate the offer, I said finally, but I am exploring opportunities where my work is valued from the outset. Silence. This time, longer, heavier, but no judgment. Just the recognition that for the first time, my value was not dictated by fear, obligation, or habit. Renzo called later. I think it's time you visit our Vancouver office. We're ready to discuss specifics. I didn't hesitate. The first steps towards self-determined direction are always the hardest, but with every step, the weight of years of silent labor, invisible crises, and unacknowledged brilliance lifted. Arriving at Marconi Capital, the lobby felt like a promise, a calm hum of energy, not a battlefield of urgency. A receptionist greeted me by name. Mr. Marconi is expecting you. Expectation, not obligation. Anticipation, not pressure. Renzo met me at the top of the elevator, expression warm and deliberate. Celestine, he said, shaking my hand firmly. I'm glad you came. I've heard everything I need to know. We walked through the office, past teams collaborating without panic, through halls where efficiency felt natural, deliberate. He guided me to his office, a view of the harbor stretching out like endless possibilities. We're not looking for someone who merely fixes crises. We're looking for someone who creates stability, autonomy, and vision. From what I've seen, that someone is you. I shared my experiences, the systems I architected at CoreLink, the tiny adjustments that prevented catastrophic failures, the quiet decisions that kept clients satisfied for years. He listened, without interruption, without expectation of apology or humility. You've operated at a level far beyond what your previous position reflected, he said finally. We want to offer you full autonomy, your own team, compensation reflecting your actual impact, senior vice president, systems, strategy, and infrastructure. I exhaled, the words landing precisely where exhaustion and longing once lived. This offer wasn't a compromise, it was alignment. The recognition I had been denied for years was finally tangible, visible, and unambiguous. He slid the folder across the desk. Clean, clear, free of hidden clauses. My name printed boldly. My future visible at last. I'm not asking for an immediate decision, Renzo added softly. Just understand your leadership creates stability wherever you stand. I closed the folder gently. I'll need a little time, I said, voice steady. But the truth was, after 7 years of being invisible, underestimated, and undervalued, I had already decided. By evening, Vancouver's skyline glowed in amber light. Messages from CoreLink flooded my phone. Marcus panicked, clients demanded reinstatement or clarification, the board scrambled. But I ignored it all. This time, I wasn't responsible for patching chaos I hadn't created. A knock at my door. Harper, my former colleague, exhausted but determined. They're finally seeing the truth, she said softly. You weren't just keeping CoreLink afloat. You were CoreLink. I nodded. Then they'll have to rebuild without me. I stepped outside into the calm night, the scent of rain on concrete filling my lungs. Silence wasn't empty. It wasn't absence. It was choice, and for the first time, my story was mine to write. The new CEO had tried to control me, but I had realized something Marcus would never understand. True power isn't taken, it's earned, recognized, and, when withheld, chosen. And I had finally chosen it for myself.